Hello and welcome to our tutorial. So today we're going to work on making a face, and this is a simple technique that we're going to explore. Now this is only the beginning of a face. You can see like there's a seam down the middle here, and there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not correct, and obviously it's completely unfinished, but this is what we hope to create in this session, and then we'll be building on this over the next little while. So I'm going to start a new file, and we're going to start from scratch. So let's see what we can make here. So this is my default cube, so I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to add, so Shift A, I'm going to add empty image. And then in this image, I'm just going to jump over here to the properties window, this little tripod icon here. I'm going to click on open, and I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm looking for this image here, face reference. This is an image I found online, and there are lots and lots of images like this. What's important is that they are aligned, and this one isn't aligned like perfectly, but we'll hopefully be able to work our way around it. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to press OR X90, enter. So I've rotated it on the x-axis. Now I'm going to duplicate it, which is Shift D, and then I'm going to hit escape, so it's stayed basically in the same position. And now I'm going to go OR Z -90 and then enter. So I have this strange configuration. I'm going to select the original one I had, this one here, and go GY, and then just move it backwards here. And exactly where it ends, if it's a little bit protruding, etc., is fine. It's just for reference. So we're going to use this image in this configuration here to allow us to build our model. I'm going to try and make a simple enough kind of version of this face. So let's start. So I'm going to go press 1 and 5 on the numpad, so I'm in front orthographic mode, and zoom in a bit. My 3D cursor is here, so I'm going to add a plane. So Shift A, Mesh, add plane, and that has added the plane here. So I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to press W and merge vertices at center. So they're at this point here. So now I'm going to go back to object mode, knowing that the only vert in this object is also at the pivot point. So in object mode, apart from placing the pivot point, I'm also moving the only vert that's in it. So I'm going to press 1. And if we look up here, we're in front orthographic, so I want to use this front part of the image. So I'm going to press G and move my single vert here to the tip of this woman's nose. Now, there's a number of ways we can proceed from here. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to rename some things here. So I'm going to double click on plane and call it face, because that's what my vertex is. My empty here is, this is going to be my, we'll call this side, and the other empty is the front. Okay, so I'm going to press 1 again, front orthographic mode, and I'm going to select this face. So this is selected. So I could start modeling now and jump between views, but what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to split the view. So I'm going to put the mouse in the top right hand corner of the viewport till the mouse turns into a crosshairs, and I'll hold down the left mouse button and slide across here, so split the view in half. And on this side here I'm going to press number 3 on the numpad, so I'm looking from the side. So what I can do now is I can move this vert to touch her nose. So I'm going to go G and then Y and move it backwards. Now I can move this a lot on the y-axis, and its position here does not change because it's actually moving towards us and away from us, but because we're in orthographic mode, its position doesn't seem to change, and that's actually the beauty of this setup here. So before I go any further, I'm just going to press G and move this and see, is it aligned? So if is the top of her lip here, in the same position as the top of her lip there. Yeah, that looks not too bad. Is the corner of her eye aligned? So if I were to put that there and go GX, so we can see here there's a slight discrepancy in positioning of the eye. So I'm going to select this one here, this side empty, and I'm going to press G and Z and move it down a fraction. No, up a fraction. There we go, wrong direction. And then click back on my vert, which is this guy here, and go GZ. And now it's in the corner of our eye here and the corner of our eye here. Now we're going to press G again and go to the tip of the nose. We'll move it across here, so GX. And that is the tip of the nose. And we'll try the chin, so press G, somewhere in the chin, the lip, top of the lip, and back to the tip of the nose. Okay, so we're going to try and work with that now. So again, I still have these aligned this way, so this vert is in the middle, and that's where we're going to construct the face. So front orthographic, side orthographic. So with my face here, my single vert object selected, I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to start using the extrude key. So I'm going to press E and extrude, basically to get an outline. Of her head. Now this picture is not perfect. It's her face is not symmetrical. The right side is larger than the left side. The eyes are not symmetrical, so you can see her lips are definitely not symmetrical. So this isn't going to be a perfect modeling experience for us, but it will definitely show us all the tools that we need to make a model like this in the future. And this is only one way of doing it. There's loads of ways. Most people actually do sculpting from a box, but we will do that as well. This is just to show you a different technique. Okay, so I'm going to keep extruding, and if you're thinking how many vertices should I use, the answer is I think as few as possible while still covering the full area. So you can see, even though I've gone down through the middle of the nose here, I'm way off on one side of the face, so we'll do our best. So that's going to be our starting outline. I'm going to take this middle vert here and I'm going to go in and try and model the eye. And you'll start to see now the sort of the process, the reason we have two views. So I'm going to draw around this eye entirely in this front view, and what we'll have over here is a straight line, and then we'll have to reposition the verts on this side. So I'm going to go extrude and extrude, and all I'm doing here is pressing the E key. And then as before, I'm going to select two by holding the shift key and pressing F to join them together. So as you can see here, I've got a straight line, which is not what we need. So I'm going to take these two to start with, and over here I'm going to press GY. So the window that the mouse is over is very important. If I press GY here, it'll still work actually, but I won't have as much control. So I'm going to select on this side and move on this side. So select on that side and move on this side. And some of this we're going to have to guess, because, for example, this kind of corner of the eye, I can't actually see around her eyeball, so I'm going to have to sort of guess. So GY, and we'll kind of tuck it in a little bit behind there. These two are probably a little more forward. This one there, and that one to there. Now from this starting position, we can now extrude out from this eye and start making a basic shape for this face. So I'm going to start here, and again I'm going to use the front view to add geometry. So I'm going to go extrude and again, this will not be perfect by any means, but it'll give us a decent starting position, so we can go on and we can sculpt this as well. Some of these will need to move more than others, so all I'm doing here is pressing the G key and trying to position these so that they're in the correct position in both views. And now I'm going to fill that in, so I'm going to select 4 and press a face, so press the F key, and see if I can get myself all the way around the eye. And this is a fairly laborious process. There are a couple of tools that will speed it up for us, but at this initial stage and for the first time that you're doing it, it doesn't actually matter that you're doing it all by hand. It's probably good for you just to practice using all of these tools. So I'm extruding by pressing E and pressing G and repositioning. So extruding and repositioning with G. So this is E and G and E and G, and it's very possible to press the wrong key and then have to do Control Z. Is your friend is undo. Okay, and we'll do the same one here. So again, once we get the eye socket, we'll have a good starting position, and in future we'll like examine sort of the topography of a face, like what is the the main curve in a face and what should we follow and what should we not follow, etc. We won't worry about that too much for now. So from here I'm going to press G, so that should be about halfway down the nose, and I'm going to extrude this here and then fill this in and reposition this a little bit. And now on this side here I'm going to extrude and extrude. I'm going to extrude down to the top of the nostril and then underneath the nostril, and reposition these a little bit but not too much. Okay, and I'm actually going to bring this off to the side here. Okay, so again, I'm going to fill this in. We're trying to keep the faces as quads, not as triangles. Now this one here, actually let me add a tiny bit more geometry before I work on that one. So, and we'll fill that in. So this face here, I'm going to go to face select mode, which is this little cube up here. I'm going to select that. I'm going to press E to extrude and then escape. So it's extruded it on top of itself. Now I'm going to press S for scale and make it a bit smaller. I press G there, moved it slightly to the right, and then I'm going to extrude again, bring the nostril inside, and then press S and make that very small. Now it's very crude, but we'll fix it up in a little while. Now I'm going to go back to vertex select mode. It's very important, so we can keep modeling. Okay. So far so good. I want to do another loop coming out. So I'm going to see if we can 1, 2, 3. See if we can extrude these at the same time. So I'm going to go extrude. And let's see what we can get with these guys. So okay, so what I probably need here is to fill this in. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's a face, and I need to bring this one much lower if I'm going to join those ones together there. Face. Okay, and then again we will extrude this around the eye socket and down for the cheek. So GY, and G, and this is about as far as we'll go this way. So we're not going to go back and do the ear or anything in this session here. We're just going to try and do the front, so the nose, the eye, and the mouth basically. And if we get any more done, that'll be excellent, but we're not gonna, we'll have plenty of time to develop this. Okay, so you can see we're working well. So again, another 4 here, and so we're starting to get a bit of volume in terms of how the face works. And we might move, it's pressing G, these down a little bit to, whoops, to the edge of the nostril here. Okay, so let's see if we can extrude this out here, and then down here. Now we're going to have to add in more geometry here because some of these faces are too big. So I'm going to press Control or and get this pink line, and that's called a loop cut. And now I've left clicked, and I can position it, and I can click again. So just to add in an extra loop of geometry. Now, so some of this will need loop cuts again too. And you can see here I don't have enough geometry. I've got a triangle, so I could leave it as a triangle, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to loop cut here and create a quad. Okay, and move that a little bit. Okay, so we're making some slow progress, but we're motoring on. So I'm going to try and do this mouth and then loop up from the chin, and you'll see hopefully that working shortly. So we'll do the mouth first. So again, from here I'm going to extrude and extrude and extrude over here, and then try and position these correctly on the side view. And same with this one here, is meant to be sort of in the very middle of the mouth. Now if we want the mouth to open, we'll have to come back and do a whole bunch more work, which we will do. Now for the first model that we make, we're going to be 3D printing it, so the amount of detail we'll be able to get will be kind of limited. So unless you've got orc tusks, we probably won't be doing teeth for that model that we're going to 3D print. Or at least if we do make them, we won't see them. Okay, so now we can start putting in these faces and filling this in. So you can see that they've changed color here compared to the rest, and that's to do with normals. So every face in has a direction, so it's either facing towards us or away from us, and these are, Blender has decided that these are facing in the opposite direction to the rest of them. We are not going to worry about it now. We will fix it before this sort of session is over, but it's a simple Wii function to flip the normals. Okay, and we're nearly there. Okay, and oops, and E and G. Okay, so the next sort of step here is I'm going to take 1 or 2 verts here from where the chin is. So say we'll start with this one, and I'm going to kind of try and attach it around here to the side. So I've got the bottom of the lip, we'll sort that out here, but this one I'm going to try and loop up to maybe attach to here. and I'm going to try and match the amount of geometry I have sliding over towards it. So I'm hoping this one matches with this vert, this one's here, and then this will join with this one. So let's position them here on the y-axis. And we'll see how well I have them matched. Now the first time you do this, you're gonna run into all sorts of difficulties, and it's not gonna work out for you perfectly, but only through practice will you get any better at this. So I'm gonna select them and press face and face, and do the same up here. Okay, and let's see what we can get here. So I'm gonna just change the way this is sort of sitting here at the moment in this view, and then we'll go in here and try and fix it in this view. So I'm going to select the faces. I'm going to go to face select mode and select all these darker faces here, and go face, is it face or is it mesh, normals, flip normals. Okay, so I'm just going to have a look at, back to vertex select mode. So I'm going to try and position these like that, and then turn that into a quad. And then I've got one too many here, so I'm going to delete that, press X, delete vertex, and then I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, oops, 4. Now that's probably too big, but well, yeah, again, we can add stuff in later. Now, I have one here that hasn't been, I haven't joined to anything. So I'm actually going to add a loop cut in here to the bottom of the eye. So I'm going to Control or and add a loop cut there. And now I have all the geometry I need. So I'm not going to go much lower. I could, and I could fill in more. I'm just going to bring up the forehead a little bit. So I'll actually take this one here and we'll extrude it across. So 1, 2, 3, and say 4. We'll position these here on the y-axis. Okay, and we'll do the same with this one. And same with this one. And then position these. Okay, so we are nearly there. I'm just going to fill these in. Now there's a few. There's like a bridge edge loop tool that we can use, and this is only, I think, our 5th session. So while this is slow, I'm quite happy for you to spend half your life selecting and deselecting vertices just to get used to doing it. Okay, so I'm going to stop now. I'm going to go out to object mode. So this is, you can see all the faces, so let's get rid of them. So let's go object shade smooth. So I've got rid of them. I'm going to right click on my background here and press H for hide, and right click on this one and press H for hide. So now we can just see our 3D mesh. I'm going to go to the modifier stack, and I'm going to say add a subdivision surface modifier, so it's going to make it more rounded, more organic. And I'm also going to say add a mirror modifier. So now I've got both sides of the face. And just to kind of bring us up to where I sort of, the model I'd shown you at the start of this exercise, I was going to close this over to here. We're going to go edit mode, select all, make sure we're in front orthographic, which we are, and I'm going to press U, project from view. And now I'm going to go into my UV image editing. And here I'm going to use my reference image. Now it's not quite set up correctly, so I'm going to press A to select it all, and then I'm going to try and position it correctly here. So I'm going to scale it on X, and I think that might be it there. So scale it slightly on Y, and then move it slightly on Y. So that's, yeah, I could spend a bit more time tweaking that and making it better, but I think that's okay for now. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our shading and zoom in. I'm going to press 1 on the numpad. I'm going to go to my materials. I have no material, so I'm going to go to the generic sort of material that we start with. And then here I'm going to add a texture node, so an image texture, and I'm going to again use the face reference and then join these together. We'll go to rendered mode. Actually, let's leave it where we were there so you can see it. We'll go pop back out into object mode, and you can see I have a few little anomalies here. It's not correctly lined up. But I'm going to get rid of the specularity, because that's how shiny it is. So we don't want, human skin isn't shiny that way. And you can see, although it's not a perfect application, that we're at the start of getting our 3D character made. So I'm going to save this. I'd saved one previously called face, so I'll call this face number 1 and save that. And that's a decent amount to get done. So we're 27 minutes in, so that's half an hour. So I'm going to stop there, and then when we start working on this in class, I don't know how much we'll get done in a single session, but we'll be working on this over the next few sessions to try and make a human face. Okay, so we'll stop for now.